So I'm very interested to see what the ledger is going to tell us right now because it's been a while. Obviously, a lot of time has gone by, and I want to see if my prediction of the top 3 nations being is it Spain? Yeah, Spain, China, and the Mayans in that order. I want to see if we get kind of reinforcement information from those ideas. Actually, that's not necessarily the case. Now that I just opened up this window, and China is number 1 in development. I think that's kind of obvious. Venice number 2, so that's pretty much Spain. Assyria, kind of out of nowhere though, is number 3. That's the big surprise here. You know, I guess the Spanish and the Venetians at 2 and 4, not a big deal. Obviously, if Spain can ever integrate Venice into their empire, they're going to be hugely winning this development game. Right now it's China, obviously, but if you ever have to add, you know, if you can add the Venetian and Spanish development, it's going to be off the charts, kind of. Not off the charts, but they're going to be winning this easily. Assyria out of nowhere, and Assyria is only going to grab even more because they're winning this massive war going on in Europe for the Byzantine Empire. So I don't know how much higher this is going to get, but they will remain ahead of Spain for now. That's incredible to see this really powerful Assyria form up. Denmark is another big surprise. I'm shocked to see them so high. Again, Denmark has, I think, a very key problem, a very big problem. A key problem was what I was going to say, but I was like, should I say key again? I don't know if I should keep saying that, but I guess I will. Denmark has a big problem, is that they're separated into the Danish Baltic and then obviously, the traditional Denmark region. So I think that might come to destroy them at some point if they don't ever unite those two land masses. France, I guess, isn't a big surprise. I know that their land's always going to be really well developed. If France doesn't do anything this entire campaign, they're always going to be just given this amazing advantage because of the location that they start in EU4. The Mayans, pretty high, and India. I'm surprised to see the Mayans actually so low. I take that back. I thought they'd be much more higher. They probably will as they continue to grab land, unless the Americans continue to kind of, I don't know, stop them. The Mayans kind of were dealt a big blow. The Mayans have never lost a war, and I'm not saying that they technically lost their war against the Celts, but nothing happened against the Celts because the Americans came in and reinforced that friendship that they had. India is pretty high. Surprised to see England so high on this list too. But India is only going to become more and more developed as we continue on through the campaign. Who has the most technologies? India, Babylon, Haiti, top 3 right there. Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and check in on. Well, I guess we could check in on score, even though this value is always never telling. Venice technically has the biggest score, then China, then Spain, then India. Well, I don't know. I would maybe agree a little bit more with this. I don't know. India's quite high. India hasn't had to deal with anything just yet, but they will have a very interesting final 100 years in this campaign. I will say that. So if they can survive that 100 years and grow in strength, then I would be, definitely willing to, put them in my top 3 or top 5. I guess they're in my top 5 technically, but we'll see. I don't want to start talking about top 5 nations just yet. Well, I want to wait for the 18th century before we get into that. Let's look over, of course. I always like looking over the best leaders of the world. Right now, it is controlled by Celtic Mexico with 20 pips. I don't know if that's going to help them against the Mayans, a future war against the Mayans, but we'll see. A lot of smaller nations, actually, with the most powerful generals. That's kind of shocking. I don't really care about. Well, I guess we could look at best military leader. I wish there was just like best overall, because we could organize it by military, diplomatic, and administrative. But I want to see just overall who has the most, who's the most points. That'd be really cool. 1660. Right now, the Indians have the best military leader, and that would explain why they're ahead in technology. Okay, here we go. Armies. So should we check on total or force limit? Let's check on total, but glance over at force limit. China right now, a huge advantage, even over India to the south. About 50,000 more troops on their side, and they're not even at their force limit. Neither is India though. But China has a pretty big advantage over India. Assyria pretty high too. I guess that's why they are doing so well, why they're so developed. Venice, then France, the Inca, the Mayans. That's pretty big though. Look at how much of an advantage the Incans have over the Americans. About 15,000. Maybe not a huge advantage, but look at the Mayan force limit. That's the problem. If they ever wanted to, if they have the economics to do it, the Mayans could really jet ahead of the Americans, and without some sort of alliance, Washington will not survive. Not the Celts either. The Celts are too weak. There's no way. Obviously, manpower is going to go to the Chinese, and then the French next. Wow. Well, the French haven't gotten to a lot of wars, so it's kind of, that's the reason why they probably have so much manpower. Okay, navies. I always like to check in on who has the biggest navy in the world. China, 158. Then it's Venice, 130. Spain at 121. Yeah, so the Venetians and the Spanish, if you ever go to war with them, you will not win any sort of naval conflicts at all. So we need to keep that in mind. They have a huge advantage over the world. So we'll see. It also depends on if Venice pulls those troops out, or I guess pulls those ships out of the Mediterranean, though, because they might not. It's possible that they don't. Mine's at 105 ships. Pretty big deal there. Denmark at 83. Brazil at 79. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and go back to the current wars. Pretty big victories for a lot of nations coming. We've got Brazil over La Plata. That's only 16 war score, not a big deal. China with 69 war score over Indonesia. India with 60 war score over Persia. And Assyria with 76 over the Byzantine Empire. So we'll see how that goes. It's 1665. Almost all of Byzantium is completely under siege. And now the Persians are about to be, I think, fully occupied. And notice that the Babylonians are going to make a comeback here. Remember, this is all cord. This is all cord. And let's not forget about their big advantages that all the land that they've taken in India. Venice also going after Bengal. Some really interesting wars are going to go down. I think that these conflicts are obviously heating up, but very interesting wars are going to continue to take place. Are the Huns at war with anybody? No. So they survived. The Russians managed to even push back the Danish. I'm not sure if it's because of England or what. Who is this here? Germany. Oh, Venice has headed up towards Denmark. Yeah, that's going to stop any sort of military in their tracks. Boom. Okay, did the war end? Yes, it did. The massive war has ended, and Assyria has grabbed about 4 more provinces. I think 5 more provinces. 6, because they also took North Africa away from Byzantium. Oh, man. All right. So, I think we need to start considering, to be honest, Assyria as one of the great powers. One of the great powers. I don't want to... Ooh, India also pieced out Persia, and Babylon did take a lot of their cores back, so Babylon is kind of back, somewhat back, I guess. They took their cores back, and I would say they're back in the world as a, kind of like an Austria in Europe. Kind of small, but they can still, deal a significant blow to any sort of military conflict. Notice Spain has also made it to India. Wow, that's crazy. And China's not pieced out with Indonesia yet. That's weird. So India coming closer and closer to the Assyrians. I wonder how that is going to... Ooh, there's already a pretty negative opinion of the two. Now, if India does not have the friends, that's going to be a problem. You can't be friends with the Huns. That will not help you against Assyria. I think we're going to see a massive Middle Eastern war eventually as... Oh, and the Indonesians have survived, technically, in continental Asia, but not for long. Yeah, China is looking massive. Is the alliance still in place between China and Polynesia? Technically it is, and their opinion of each other is getting higher and higher. So that will, for one, it'll actually, I think, save Siam a little bit. Unless, of course, actually, maybe not. No, that's not true at all. Polynesia could go to war with Siam, call in China, and Polynesia would be pretty powerful here. And we'll have to see if China ever decides to backstab Polynesia, which is entirely plausible. Okay, is there anything else that's going on? I know the Brazilians had a war. Russia versus the Huns, and we have the Celts versus the Iroquois. There's actually several flags that are the same. I apologize for that. I had no idea. Brazil took, I think, a little bit more away from La Plata. Yep, they took all this away from La Plata. Is Haiti losing any ground? No, they're not. They're doing fine. Okay, what was going on? What else happened? So Canada grabbed some land back from the Iroquois, so it looks like, actually, Canada is going to survive this by some sort of miracle. I think they're going to survive this. 54.5% liberty desire. The problem is that they'd have to fight America, and America, unless they, I don't know, lose the alliance, It's still possible, I think, for the Celts to have to, to lose a war pretty bad somewhere outside of the New World where America can't get to, and then they're forced to annul the alliance with the Americans. That way, if that's the scenario to play out, I think the Celts will lose their colonies very soon after. So I don't think Russia lost anything. I don't think they grabbed anything back either. Don't believe they did. But the Russians will grab more lands away from the Huns. And they need to try to get up and around the Caspian. They got to try to do that. Although there will be a new Russian-Assyrian border. I'm really kind of just in disbelief at how much Assyria has made this comeback and honestly has become, I would say, one of those forces that you have to recognize. Byzantium only allied to Denmark now, so whenever Assyria wants to, they have multiple nations that they can easily pick apart. Look at the alliance that Assyria has. Poland, Russia, England, Spain. Spain calling in Venice as well. Assyria, I think is probably in the top 5 only because they can go to war with a really weak Persia, obviously in Arabia who's been non-existent the entire campaign, or Byzantium, who, if it doesn't matter. If they're only allied to Denmark, that's not going to do anything. Assyria could fight Byzantium one-on-one. They won't because they'll call in this awesome alliance, but still, it's amazing. Assyria's gotten themselves into a war with who? With the Zulu? Ooh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. So yeah, I think that we're going to see a major conflict between India and Assyria, and it actually looks like Assyria seems to be the power in the Middle East to look out for. The Zulu and the Inca. So the Inca are also allied to the Zulu now. Inca allied to a lot of the African nations. Songhai also. Carthage might be one of the only major forces, I think, in Africa. There's a lot of room in Africa still for someone like Assyria or Carthage to grab and to take more territory. I mean, I think Carthage even. The problem with Carthage is that they have no friends. They did before. I believe they had alliances before, but now they certainly do not. But they can grab all this stuff here. They could go to war with Songhai if they wanted to. I'm sure they don't like each other. Yeah. So that could possibly happen too. The problem is that they're pretty much sandwiched in between Spain and Venice, so it's really unlikely that something like that plays out. Boom, Russia's pieced out the Huns, and they do have a new Assyrian border, although I think they're allied, so it's all good for now. The Huns just barely surviving here with 4 provinces, so the next war will probably eliminate the Huns from the game. I don't know who's going to declare that war. It can only be Sweden for now. If that truce is up, Sweden also allied to Spain. Assyria at -6 war score with the Zulu, surprisingly. And now I think if we're really lucky, Polynesia will go and grab this land so that there'll be less like green-on-green action between India and China. Nobody likes green-on-green action here, I think. I think nobody wants green-on-green action. If Polynesia could make a nice green sandwich, a nice green and orange sandwich, that would be fantastic because I'd love for these borders to not touch. There'll be a little bit touching going on. There's going to be a little bit of touching between the buns going on. But I think that if Sweden gets over here fast enough too, they won't make it. It won't be too much. It's probably one of the weirdest metaphors I've ever come up with, but you guys know what I'm saying. France back at war with the Iroquois. I believe this has got to be the end of the Iroquois now. The Canadians went to war with the Iroquois, took away quite a bit. Now look at French Louisiana ready to go. Wait a second, French Louisiana. I thought they were building something else. For a second there, I thought there were 3 colonies. There might have initially started off to be 3 colonies. But anyways, French Louisiana, there you go. They'll probably take over, I think, all of the Iroquois lands. Canada, I think, will be safe for the most part. Remember, this is all wasteland. As long as America doesn't go after Canada, which is really, I think, unlikely. So never mind, I don't know if Canada is safe. Spanish Upper Missouri. How is the Liberty Desire with California? 17.5. It's crazy to see the Liberty Desire so low in so many of these nations. I'm shocked. Let's see, even for the Celts, it seems like. I mean, the Celts are the only colonies. The Celtic colonies are the only ones that are trying to declare their independence. Yeah, so you're supported by Canada. That is not enough. Surprised they haven't lost Northern Florida. That's Canada. So really shocked that they haven't lost Northern Florida. Boom, there you go. Sweden might be the ones to take out the Hunnic Empire. Canadian subarctic islands. No, that's Danish Green Mark, Canada. Get your stuff together. So we'll see if Sweden can reinforce. I believe Sweden is good friends with England, or they like each other. No, not really. They kind of like each other. Not so much. But they somehow got military access. Actually, where'd they get the military access from? Or maybe they just built up the forces. No, there's no way they built 20,000 troops in this part of Sweden. I seriously doubt that. I don't think that's what happened. Assyria at negative 12 war score with the Zulu. Ooh, man, you might have messed up. Even though you have a 7 stack over there. You have a 7 stack that could easily go after this Zulu territory. I don't know. That's very strange. And I have no idea what happened with Ethiopia. If we do return to a custom nations game like this, well, for one, I need to try to make it go faster in the beginning. I think that's obvious. But two, I got to figure out what happened with Ethiopia. How did Ethiopia do so bad? Boom. Maybe the Zulu might even grab some stuff away from Spain, incredibly enough. They might. Phoenician Congo, English Congo. England really hasn't done much with their... Oh, is this England here? Oh my gosh, I think it is. It is. Man, England's making a comeback with their colonial game. Obviously, this island is just a race. Polynesia and Indonesia, I think, have been somewhat of a... somewhat slow. I think they should be somewhat disappointed in their performance. They haven't colonized a lot of this stuff, so it's going to go to the Europeans. I mean, Polynesia's done a pretty good job. I really like Polynesia. But, still, wait a second. Who? Oh gosh, did they not get here? Is that England? Yes, it is. You failed, Polynesia. Your only job was to get Hawaii. In my mind, it was only to get Hawaii, but you did not do that. How's Alaska looking? Zero liberty desire for now. Yeah, so North America is just going to be insane. Oh, did the French join in? The Americans, I mean? Okay, so the Americans declared war on the Iroquois while the French were at war. So I think the French will probably destroy the Iroquois with them only being at one province, unless the Canadians join in. 16, no, they have to wait 5 years. There's no way. Oh, America, you're just kind of screwed, honestly. You're just kind of screwed. You didn't colonize like Haiti did. You could have colonized West Africa, which would have been a pretty smart move, I think. India versus Egypt. We've got Russia versus... Whoa. Okay, hold on. Songhai versus Carthage, too. That's a big one. I'm interested to see how that's going to go. Remember, Songhai has a lot of small provinces, so even though their font isn't as big, I think they have just as much power. Okay, so the French still at war with the Iroquois. The Assyrians, negative 12 war score against the Zulu. The Indians versus Egypt. Yeah, they'll win that for sure. Okay, we have Russia and Sweden is the big one. Russian purge of Swedish heresy. This is the second war. There's been multiple wars like this, but second time we've seen this war like this before. It's just Russia and Greece versus Sweden, Spain, Venice, and the 2 Spanish colonies. Luckily for Russia, I don't think Spain can get over here. I mean, Greece is dead, that's for sure. But I think that they could have some luck here. We will see. I don't know. We will see. But anyways, guys, I'm going to have to stop right there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.